I took to the bed and I ate chocolate-covered blueberries that you get at Target. And I found Netflix, and I binged watched Scandal. Have y'all seen Scandal? That first season, the chemistry between the two main characters, I think something's really going on. Anyway, it set me on fire. And so I laid up in the bed and watched that and like ordered Jimmy John's from my bed. And my husband said, "Are you all right?" But I ended up getting sciatica from laying in the bed. I didn't get bed sores. I got sciatica and then ended up having to get physical therapy that cost $1,000 because of my deductible. But anyway, but I grieve so much over my kids being gone. All right, so when my husband gets home, he's as sad as I am. When he gets home, we just stare out into space. And he's very quiet. He's an introvert. He doesn't talk. He doesn't chat. So I just sit and talk to myself. And we have 2 beagle hounds, and we just sit and kiss them in the mouth. And they are yummy. And we go to bed, and a lot of y'all look really young in here, and I'm gonna scare y'all to death, but I'm gonna tell y'all, look at these young girls right here. I'm gonna tell y'all what your future is gonna be, okay? All right, when you get to be about your mid-40s, you're gonna start a thing called perimenopause. It's before you go through menopause, and it makes you crazy. And you sweat in the bed at night. Okay, and all your hormones get messed up. All right, I go to the bedroom, and I am so hot at night that I put the air on 68 because I don't want to die. My husband puts it back up on 70. And he says, "You're freezing me to death." He's having to wear pajamas for the first time in our marriage. Okay. He said, "I can see my breath." That's a lie. But I know he is cold because one time he had to wear a toboggan. But anyway, we get in the bed, and that big beagle, who is 10 years old, a boy named Augie, who is so sweet, my husband spoons him in the bed. And then we've got a new little beagle that is a pocket beagle, and her name is Gigi, and she is so yummy. And she had a nervous tick when we got her, and she ate our couch. But other than that, I love her. And she gets in the bed, and she backs her little butthole up against my head at night, right here. And when we get, all right, so when my husband spoons that big one will wall his eyes at me and looks like, "I don't want him. I want you." So when my husband drifts off to sleep, that big beagle scoots over and then gets in the crook of my legs. So through the night, I break out in a sweat because I'm in perimenopause, and it's right here in the back of my neck. Dr. Oz said it. Okay, so then I'm sweating like I've done Zumba all night. And my husband snores. It depends on if he's put on weight. If he's stressed out at work, he'll put on weight. He'll eat a bunch of white flour. And then he snores a different way. But if he's playing tennis and he's watching what he eats, this is really how he snores. He starts going, pew, pew, pew. It's enough to kill you. Okay, you can set a watch by it. Sometimes it's just a puff of air, and it's on my head with a butthole right here, with a big beagle right here. So that's your nighttime routine of perimenopause. Look at how beautiful they are. See, they still have their bloom. good for y'all. Y'all are probably out doing yoga. Okay, I have given up. All right. Okay, years ago, we wanted all these children to play sports, to keep them off of dope. And so they played all this stuff, all of them did. And my baby, my husband's 6'4", I'm 5'8". We breed big kids. So she, in elementary school, was like 5'5", 5'6". She was taller than all the little children and the principal and the teachers, and she hated it. But the good news is she's very athletic, very strong. So all over East Tennessee, people would call me and say, can she be the goalkeeper for our soccer team? I'll get her an iPhone. Yeah. Can she play basketball for us? She never played basketball. And y'all, I lived through her. And I made her do it. And I felt like LeBron James's mama. And so she came to me and she goes, I'm sick of this. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to play all this mess. She goes, I've decided that I want to cheer. And I said, well, baby, we're big people. And I said, we don't tumble, but I'll figure something out. Well, all over the United States, they've got this thing called competition cheer. And it's kind of like, if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like Honey Boo Boo meets the Olympics, really. It's gymnast. They're gymnasts. And there's one in Knoxville called the Sharks. And they said, drop your baby off and she can try out to audition, whatever you want to call it. So I dropped her off and they ended up putting her on a bad Mama Jamma team because all the little children her age came up to hear on her. And somebody's got to throw them up in the air. So they were thrilled with her and they treated us like royalty. But anyway, they said, you're going to come in here twice a week, learn a 2-minute routine. It's going to cost you $150 a month. It's like, okay. They said, there's a uniform that you're going to order, and it comes to here. It's going to expose her stomach. She's going to have a tiny skirt on with a slit in it with a glitter panty underneath it. It's $300. I said, that's a whore outfit. And it came with its own bag of whore makeup. So that all the little children could look alike. And they said, y'all are going to travel to faraway lands and compete against other little whore children. So we went to like Cincinnati or Atlanta. And we had to get hotel rooms and the gas and all of that. And then you drive up to a big coliseum, a huge coliseum. And there's tens of thousands of little whore children walking around. And my husband said, there could be pedophiles here. This is the awfulest thing something's not right. Okay, so then they said, you're going to pay $150 for your baby to be in this competition. You're going to have to pay $30 to put a band on to get in and watch your baby in this competition. Somebody was selling corn dogs for $15. Okay. They start out with the babies, so it goes from 5 to 18 ages. So the babies come out in a tiny little skirt about the size of a napkin. And they come out to Beyonce's All the Single Ladies. And their little mamas are in their 20s. And they're not bitter yet. And they're in the front doing every move to keep their baby on track because they're babies and they need to be at home breastfeeding. So they move up throughout the day into my baby's age, and they're the reef sharks. They call out that name, honey, for 2.5 minutes. My baby throws little children up in the air, flinging little children, broken out in a sweat, working like a Trojan. Did you see my Spanx? Okay. All right. One of my girls said I look like Miley Cyrus in the Wrecking Ball in my spank. But anyway, so she throws these little children up. The little children she's throwing up in the air are the flyers. They call them the flyers. And they're freakishly tiny little children. I don't know where these people come from. Their mamas are freakishly tiny. I mean, I come from big people. I've got thick ankles. I can work in the fields. And the whole time she's throwing them up in the air, these little girls are going. And nobody knows why, really. So at the end of the routine, after the 2.5 minutes, the finale, everybody hunkers down on the stage, puts their forehead on the stage, and my baby is the finale. She pops up and has a little child's foot in her hand and holds that child's foot. I would put it all the way up, but my dress is tight in the back. But anyway, she holds this little child up over her head. Are y'all listening to me? I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, could you hold her up over your head or vice versa? I mean, you know, it's a big deal. So anyway, everybody went nuts. But she said, after it was over, she goes, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go back to playing. She ended up playing volleyball the rest of her childhood. But she said, I'm keeping that whore outfit. She said, I'm going to get married in it. I'm in love with my girls. I'm in love with them, and they're my best friends, especially as they get older. And I know that when I'm in the nursing home, they'll be the ones to come and pluck my chin hairs. But he has been from heaven. Okay, it's so wonderful. All right, well, he got married in September, and when he started bringing his wife around us, he would say to me, you have a terrible look on your forehead. And I would say, what? I don't know what you're talking about. But he said, Mom, she's my best friend, and I want to marry her. They met in college at Berry College. And he said, she's going to be my wife. And so I tried to, it wasn't anything against her. It was anybody that was going to come in and take my boy, because he's the best thing that's ever, all right, he's like the best of their daddy. He's like everything their daddy can't be. Does that make sense? So right before the wedding, he said, Mom, she is my immediate family now. You're my extended. I'm supposed to cleave to my wife. That's biblical. And I said, why did I show him the Bible? But they had a beautiful wedding, and really, when I got in there and the Holy Spirit was there, and God was in it, and I knew they were supposed to be together, and I love her. I mean, I love her. She's like another daughter to me now. And but I was freaked out. But everything is okay now. And then I got to thinking, how psycho am I that I want to keep him forever and have him live in the basement and be a weirdo. You know, that's twisted. So I was able to let him go. And I love her. She's like another child to me. Oh, me. All right, now they are grown. And I cannot believe it. It just flew by. My boy is 24 years old, and he is married. He got out of college. He met his college sweetheart his freshman year. He said he would never marry young, but he did, and he brought her home. And all right, who in here has had boys and girls? Can you clap? Who do you think's easier to raise? I mean, just yell it out. Boys or girls? Boys. Boys, every once in a while, a little frail woman will yell, "Girl." And she's probably being threatened. But anyway, no. We love our girls. I love my girls. I truly do. And I know that when I'm in the nursing home, they'll be the ones to come and pluck my chin hairs. Because my boy will be off with his wife and her people. Because he said to me, he brought her home and he said, "You got a terrible look on your forehead." And I said, "Oh, it's nothing against her. It's just I'm jealous because I thought you would only love me." I know that's twisted. I know it is. But he was the best thing that ever happened to me. All right, my kids all yell at me and my husband, everybody's in a bad mood all the time. And he's the only one that's never fussed at me. And he was just the sweetest child growing up. And so when he said he was going to marry somebody and move off, it was awful. But let me say that I love her. And they live near us. And she's like another child to me. And it has been a blessing. She is very sweet and has forgiven me for my forehead looks. But anyway, but he said to me right before they got married, he goes, "Mom, she's going to be my immediate family. You're now my extended family." He said, "Mom, that's biblical." I thought, why did I show him the Bible? Let me tell y'all about him. He's an old soul. Have you ever met anybody that was an old soul? He was born an 80-year-old man. He has had a garden since he was in 6th grade. He plays the mountain dulcimer and the banjo. He woodworks. He makes spoons. He makes spoons. I mean, he is so yummy. All right, his favorite music is gospel bluegrass. His favorite, well, no. Okay. Ding-a-ding-a-ding. All right. His favorite artist was Dr. Ralph Stanley. Dr. Ralph, look at you. Look at you. Knowing who Dr. Ralph Stanley is. Okay, for those of you who don't, he was on the Oh Brother Where Art Thou. That is probably the most famous thing he did. But he was the godfather of Mountain Soul. He ended up dying at like 92. He had a little cowboy hat propped on his head. Yummy. Okay, he would come through Knoxville and I would take my son to see Dr. Ralph when my son couldn't drive. They propped little Dr. Ralph up on stage because he was so old. I almost threw my panties at him because that's what you do to Tom Jones. And I love him. But anyway, I'm standing there listening to Dr. Ralph Stanley singing gospel bluegrass, and I think to myself, how many teenage boys are listening to this? What are teenage boys listening to? Rihanna, Walk a Flock of Flame, some of that nasty goings on. I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I had to yell at my boy, "Turn that gospel bluegrass down. You're out of control." If I hear "I Saw the Light" one more time. Look at these darling men here tonight that live in Wilmington, North Carolina. So cute. Y'all could be home watching baseball. But you're going to have to hear about my fat breast and my retaining fluid. If I have time, I'll talk about my reflux. I don't know. Just hold on, boys. I don't know. Okay, let me tell y'all that I fell in love with everybody on that movie set, but I really got close to the hair and makeup people. And they were all local people from Atlanta. And every time I went in that trailer, they would say to me, "Leanne, you have got to let us be the ones to take you to this historical place in Atlanta. Everybody's got to go at least one time in their life. Please let us be the ones to take you." And I was like, okay, I love history. They wanted to take me to the Claremont Lounge. Anybody here heard of that? Well, let's tell all these other innocent and sweet, precious people what that Sodom and Gomorrah is. The Claremont Lounge is in the Claremont Hotel, and that's, I guess, a historical hotel. And they painted it pink, and I think it's expensive to stay there. And there's a rooftop bar where all the young people take their Instagram pictures and put it on there. And then inside the hotel is a restaurant, a bar, and a coffee shop. Down in the basement, in a dark black hole, is the Claremont Lounge, and that is a strip club. And when I found that out, I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I have the Holy Spirit." I know. I'm not going to that mess. And they were like, "It's not what you think it is, Leanne. Just trust us. It's not what you think it is." The only thing I've ever known about a strip club, there was one in Knoxville, Tennessee, that was on the side of the interstate, and it was called The Catch. And my little children thought it was a Mexican restaurant. And then I've seen movies, I've seen movies with strippers and professional athletes and lights and poles and all that kind of stuff. This is not that. This is more like Ripley's Believe It or Not. But I didn't know that, and they kept begging me to go, and I was so freaked out. I asked my middle child, Maggie, I said, "Do you think if I go to this thing, I'm going to feel the presence of Satan?" And she said, "Yeah, girl, I do." And I said to my baby child, who's fascinated by sin, I said, "Do you think I'll feel Satan?" She went, "No, I don't think so." They both know I'm very sensitive. I have felt the presence of Satan on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. I think he lives there full time. And in Las Vegas twice. So they kept begging me to go, And so we go down these dark steps, down in this hole. And there's these big men standing at the bottom, and they go, "Cash only. If you take your phone out and use it, we'll beat you to death with it." Well, they didn't say that, but it felt like that. And the hair and makeup people, they said, "Oh, Leanne, you'll get new material out of it." Anytime anybody says that to me, I know something traumatic's about to happen. Here's another example of meanness. My middle one is in a sorority at the University of Tennessee, and a lot of those little girls will come home that can't go home on the weekends. They'll come to our house, and I can cook for them. I enjoy it. I really do. And they can wash their clothes. Well, one little girl came, and I washed that little thing's clothes because she stayed 2 days. And all I said to her was, "Katie, you're so tiny. Your little underwear looks like a slingshot." That little girl thought it was funny, and my baby looked at me and went, so I got out of there. And then when that little girl left, I came back in. I said, "What's wrong with me saying that her little panties look like a slingshot? I wish somebody'd say my panties look like a slingshot." You boys in the front row, y'all want to know what my panties look like? Did y'all ever watch Braveheart and Mel Gibson? You remember that big old catapult when they'd pull that big thing back, put a ball in it, fling it, and kill a bunch of women and children with it? That's what my panties look like. Thank you. Thank you. Oh. Thank you for clapping for my panties. I used to wear Victoria's Secret when I was their age, because I still had hope. But y'all know what? I quit wearing them. You know why? Because y'all know who owns Victoria's Secret? Satan. and I don't wear my panties for evil. So that was cutting me in two. They just got to be too little. So I bought Somas. Anybody here given up like I have? Anybody here wearing Somas? No? Let me tell you about Somas. They're the best thing that's ever happened. Okay, because they've got a whole line of nightgowns and underwear and all this stuff that's called Cool Nights. Because it pulls moisture away from you in the night. Yay. To keep you from having a stroke. Because you're going through the change and you're sweating. Dr. Oz, are y'all with me? So, it has a dry fit technology in it. So you boys could play golf in them. I'm not kidding. They're not pretty, but anyway, that's what I wear. The second weekend we were in California, we went to Brea, which is beautiful too. And beautiful, sweet, precious people there too. And that was going to be the weekend that my baby child turned 25. And her daddy called me and said, I want to be with y'all. I'm going to buy a plane ticket and I'm coming out there. So I called my travel agent and I said, you better get another room. Because their daddy misses me. I don't know what it is about Chuck Morgan in a hotel room. But he gets in a hotel room, gets a glazed look over his eyes. And I feel like I'm doing this. And the reason why I had to get another hotel room is because this baby and I have been touring together. She's with me all the time. I've done 150 dates with her. And their daddy does not want me to spend money. And so we've had to share a room. So we've been butt to butt in a king-size bed everywhere we go. And all of my married life, Chuck Morgan has told me not to spend money and that we were going to lose everything. He's tried to scare me. And he's been in my ear. I can hear him saying, you better eat that free continental breakfast. Don't you dare go to Panera. But okay, so Chuck Morgan buys a really cheap airline ticket. He had to get up in the middle of the night and connect all over the United States of America. He finally gets there, and he is worn to a frazzle. And Chuck Morgan doesn't nap, but he napped on and off that day and watched Tennessee play basketball in the hotel room. And then I went to a club and worked 2 shows, and I was supposed to be thinking about new material, and all I could think of the whole time I was up there was, he's going to get a lot of rest. And I'm going to have to do unspeakable things all night. So my baby will have a good birthday. I hate to even say that. If there's young girls in here that are 20 and 30, I hate to say that to y'all. But I want to be honest. I don't want to blow smoke up y'all's butthole. And I'm not saying y'all have to, but I have prostituted myself to Chuck Morgan. For over 34 years now. So my children would have good shoes. And Chuck's in the back tonight. He would love to come out here and say to y'all right now, uh-oh, y'all, Chuck Morgan's gonna get the big head. He would love to come out here right now and say to y'all, oh, don't worry, she hadn't been a good prostitute. That's what he'd say. Oh, y'all, I've done every kind of exercise in the world. And when I was y'all age, I was so gung-ho. And I wanted to go and do, and I wanted to be firm and tone. And then one day I just said, I don't care. But, and that's a good feeling too. But when I was y'all's age, I was big into CrossFit. Do y'all have CrossFit here? Ooh, I hope y'all don't end up in a boot. All right. It is bad mamma jamma. And they came to Knoxville, and these young boys in their early 20s opened it up, and they were darling. And they both had little fannies that looked like baseballs. And I wanted my fanny to look like a baseball. So I got my good friend Becky. Becky and I joined CrossFit together. For those of you who don't know, it's like military moves, push-ups, pull-ups, that kind of thing. They'd put a big tractor tire in the parking lot and they'd set Becky in it, and I'd pull her across the parking lot while she held her purse. Well, these boys came to us one day and they said, hey, we're going to have a contest, and whoever wins it gets 3 months of free training. And it's going to be for the women and for the men. It's going to last 10 weeks. We're going to take your before and after picture, and then the whole gym's going to vote on whose body has changed the most. We were like, yes. So one day, we show up, didn't know it was picture day. I had on a horrible-looking sports bra that had lost all of its support, and I should have bizzed it the night before. It had a gray tint to it, and it really wasn't gray. It was white. And if I'd have known it was going to be picture day, I'd have gotten a spray tan. But anyway, they said, take your top off to me and Becky, and they go, just leave on your sports bra and your spandex, and we're going to take your picture. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And I didn't want those little boys to not ever want to marry and have children. So I said, Becky, me and you, we're going in the back. I said, I'm taking Becky's picture and she'll take mine. So we went in the back room, and Becky went. And I said, what are you doing, Becky? Don't you want to win this thing? I want to win it. So I took my spandex and shoved it under my stomach and went. Thank you. Oh, it was a sight. These kids put it on the internet because that's what kids do. So if y'all Google it and you see this poor woman with her head cut off with these 2 feed sacks, oh, it was a sight. But what they said, they go, okay, and when I saw that, I thought, oh my gosh, you are what you eat, and I look like a big bun, is what I look like. But they said, you're going to eat paleo, and it's what God put upon the earth to sustain us. So if you can run it down and kill it, dig it out of the ground, pick it off of a bush, you can eat it. So that's lean meats, fruits, vegetables, nuts, berries, and seeds. That's no grain, no dairy. When's the last time any of y'all ever got off of white flour? Anybody? Oh, and you still can yell. Okay. Good for you. Oh my gosh, I had the shakes. Becky and I both were shaking. We drank a bunch of coffee. Then we had to have our teeth whitened. Anyway, my husband said, you are so hateful. Will you please eat a piece of white bread? I mean, it was awful. I mean, oh, how horrible if somebody had to get off of heroin. I mean, and I don't know what that's like, but I watched Shaft when I was little, and I remember it being a booger when somebody had to get off of heroin. This felt similar. It may not have been. Anyway, they took the after picture, and I made sure I had a spray tan. Let me tell you that, honey, because a spray tan takes 12 pounds off of you. Anyway, I had a spray tan. I had on a really cute sports bra and spandex. And I took mine, and I'm ashamed to tell y'all, but I won that thing. Oh, thank you. I'm so ashamed that y'all are giving me that love. I know y'all are thinking, what happened, Leanne? I'll tell you what happened. I spotted a tortilla. That's what happened. We try to go every year because Chuck Morgan and the children love it. All my kids love it. But the last time I was on skis, I was 47 years old. Now I'm 59. And we were going to Alta, Utah. which is beautiful. And I had on that tight outfit. And I was going up the ski lift. I was on the ski lift about to get off, and I had every intention of skiing that year. I had on everything. I was ready to go. And I know how to get off a ski lift, and I know how to ski. But something did not click that day, and I just fell off that ski lift into the snow. And that thing kept going around. And so I just... And then this long-haired boy that worked there with this stuff hanging out of his eyebrows came up to me and said, "Get up." Get up. And I'll just tell you boys in Wilmington that I had let my core go. And real bad. I had let my core go. And I still had my skis on. I had to get my poles up and try to do that. I don't know how I got up. I don't remember that. I feel like I blacked out because I don't remember a thing. But my boy was standing over there and saw the whole thing. My sweet boy. And I somehow got to the top of that mountain, and he looked at me and he goes, "You're okay. Okay? You're okay, Mom. You're okay. Let's get down this mountain." I went, "No." And he said, "You're okay. Everything's fine." I went, "No. God spoke to me." He said, "No, he didn't." I said, "Yes, he did. It wasn't an audible voice. It was in my heart." And he did. God spoke to me. And I remember what he said. He said, "Get off these things, Leanne." That's what he said. And then I think he said, "Go sit down at that pizza shack for the rest of the week." I was like, okay. Okay, y'all have been darling, and let me tell you, okay, it's 8:30 now. I'm going to have y'all in the bed by 9:15, okay? I'm going to have y'all in the bed. So if y'all got a melatonin or a magnesium in your purse, hold on, give me a few more minutes, and then you can take it. Okay. I've got one more thing to tell y'all, and then y'all can go home. And y'all been precious. Thank y'all for doing this for me. Thank y'all. Okay, Chuck Morgan and I were both raised in church, and I wanted to raise my children in church, and he did too. And I'm not saying that, y'all, to say I raised my children in church. I'm saying to y'all that we are so dysfunctional. We are so messed up and dysfunctional that I don't know what would have happened to us if we had not had the Lord. I mean it. I know. Hallelujah. We have the Lord. But let me tell y'all that I believe that Satan did not want my family to go to church. So he would come to our house every Sunday morning so he could stir up some shit. Chuck Morgan and I would fight every Sunday morning just like two rabid dogs in the yard. And I'm ashamed to tell y'all that, but this is what we would fight over. I like to be at church on time. I like to get to church before it starts. Chuck Morgan is a very successful person and very anal retentive and type A, and everything is just so in his life, except time. My love language is words of affirmation. Okay, if you have not taken that test, go get you a book called The 5 Love Languages. My husband and I did it at the Methodist Church. When we were just married, we went on a retreat, and we did this. And they have one for your children, and they have one for your spouse. So you read it, you take the test, and everybody has a prominent love language. There's 5 of them. And so you find out what your spouse's love language is. and they find out what your love language is, and you feed each other their love language. And then when you do, their love tank feels full. And if they feed you yours, your love tank feels full. If you don't feed them their love language, they go to work. And they're at the water fountain. And some whore comes up. And feeds them their love language. And then they feel a tingle. And then Satan swoops in. Everybody, I think you know where I'm going with that. Okay. So there's 5 love languages. The first one is quality time. You know people that just want you to spend quality time with them. Just them. Okay. Then there's physical touch. I know you girls think, that's my husband. Physical touch. He's on me like a duck on a June bug. But I'm not talking about that kind of physical touch, the nasty kind. I'm talking about, people that just want to squeeze and they're physical and they want to hold your hand, they want to hug on you. That kind of physical touch. Okay, then there's gifts. And that's my sister. She loves, if you've thought about her, it doesn't have to be expensive. If it's a rose, if it's a card, hers is gifts. She feels love and her love tank is full. Mine is words of affirmation. So all my husband has to say is, Leanne, you look beautiful today. Or Leanne, that Trisha Yearwood's chicken piccata is to die for. And then I'm willing to do something vulgar with him. And then he gives me money to get my hair highlighted. You see how that works? That's really biblical. Okay, and then the 5th one is acts of service. So that's my husband's. So I have to, honest to goodness, I have to go in the garage and build a set of shelves for him to feel love. Husband, we met at the University of Tennessee while he was stalking me. He was so tickled with me. Okay, he was getting an MBA. I was finishing up my undergraduate. He is so smart and such an overachiever that he had already gotten an undergraduate, worked for 2 years, and got an MBA. I was just finishing mine up, my undergraduate, because I'm so fun. And I thought, oh my gosh, he is so smart. He can do math. He can reconcile a checkbook. There's no telling where we're gonna go, what we're gonna see, how we're gonna live. Well, we graduated and he decided to buy a used mobile home business in Bean Station, Tennessee. And I know y'all don't know where Bean Station is, in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. Did any of y'all ever see Deliverance? I think they filmed that there. Beautiful, beautiful lakes and pretty and all that. But so he moved me there and he wanted me to be in sales for him at this used mobile home business. So I did that day. Until I saw a family drive up in a Gremlin with the window out and a 9-year-old smoking a cigarette. That's the truth. She lit it off of her meemaw. And that's her grandmother. Do I need an interpreter? Okay. She lit it off her grandmama. And so I quit that day and I went home and I got pregnant that night. All right. Thank you. I had 3 babies in 4.5 years. Yeah, it hurt. It did. I was pregnant and or breastfeeding for 6 straight years in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. And let me tell y'all, when I found out about my 3rd baby, I feel terrible how I reacted, but I was so overwhelmed and so tired. But I knew that day I didn't feel right. I thought, what is wrong with me? I'm tired and I kind of feel sick. And I thought, oh my gosh, surely I'm not pregnant this quick after this, because my girls were 20 months apart. So I had to know. I was crazy. I drove to the Walmart in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, and I took my 2 babies with me and the diaper bag and all that stuff you take with you, and I went into the Walmart and bought an EPT pregnancy test. I took it in the stall, and I tinkled on it. And my 3-year-old boy looked at me and said, "What, is it positive?" And it was. And I drove home just as fast as I could, and I called my husband at work, and I said, "You're trying to kill me, aren't you?" "Well, you're not going to, because I'm going to walk out in the woods and let the animals eat me." So they said, "You're going to, for 10 weeks, you're going to do CrossFit 3 days a week, and you're going to do the paleo diet." The paleo diet is what God put upon this earth to sustain us. And He knows what we need. So it's lean meats, fruits, vegetables, nuts, berries, and seeds. So if you can run it down and kill it. Dig it out of the ground, pick it off of a bush, you can eat it. That means no dairy, no grains of any kind. But when they tell you lean meats, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and berries, you think, that's not so bad. Okay, but no dairy, no grains. When's the last time anybody in here got off of white flour? Anybody, can you clap? Can you clap, or are you too weak? Anybody here been hooked on heroin? Anybody? I've never been hooked on heroin, praise God, but I was raised watching Shaft. I don't know if y'all watched that when y'all were little on TV, and they would always have somebody getting off of heroin. It looked like a booger. It looked like an awful booger. And I'm not trying to belittle that, but I'm telling you, I shook getting off of sugar and white flour. I was drinking coffee 24 hours a day. My teeth got yellow. I had to have those bleached. My husband said, "You are so hateful. Will you please eat a piece of white bread?" But Church of God Beacon, I did it, honey. We did it. And I mean, then they took our after picture. It took, 10 weeks later, and I did not lose that much weight. It was like 8 or 9 pounds, but my body turned into somebody else's body, honey. And it was pretty cute. And I leaned out, and I thought, oh my gosh. And so then they took our after picture, and I made sure I got a spray tan. And I had a really good bra on, and I took that picture. And I'm ashamed to tell y'all, but I won that competition. Oh, stop. I don't deserve to be applauded. I know y'all are thinking, oh gosh, Leanne, that's wonderful, but what happened? What happened, Leanne? I'll tell you what happened. I did okay for about 3 weeks, and then I spotted a tortilla. That's what happened. Okay, so here's another story about my middle child being so sensitive. My children went to a small Christian school in Knoxville, and we loved it. It was like a family to us. And the elementary school was tiny. And the girl that worked front desk was Jeannie, who's a good friend of mine. And I dropped my little children off that morning. And I came back that afternoon, and Jeannie saw me walk in, and she grabbed her chest and said, "Oh my gosh, Leanne, how are you walking? Do you need me to call somebody? Do you need to go to the hospital?" I said, "What are you talking about, Jeannie?" She said, "Maggie said you had surgery today. She's asked for prayer. We've been praying for you over the intercom all day." I said, Jeannie, I got my IUD replaced. I want you boys in North Carolina to know, honey, that I was very fertile. I was very fertile, praise God. I was as fertile as the Napa Valley. And I think it's because I'm from farming people. We killed our own beef. And I've got thick ankles and I can work in the fields. But anyway, I had to get an IUD every 5 years because Chuck Morgan didn't get a vasectomy. But whatever, it's okay. Let me tell y'all that precious Christian school put me on a meal chain. They put me on a meal chain. And somebody brought me a meatloaf that afternoon. And it was a good one. And so my hope and prayer, and I mean this, my hope and prayer for all of y'all is that y'all have a good friend who'll make you a meatloaf and you get your IUD replaced. I know. All my children are yummy, and I'm in love with them, and I love my girls, and I know that when I'm in the nursing home, they'll be the ones to come and pluck my chin hairs. Because he is now since married and gone off with his wife and her people. And that's what boys do. They cling to their wife. That's biblical. He said to me, Mom, she is now my immediate family. You are my extended. That's what he said to me right before they got married. And he said, Mom, that's biblical. I'm supposed to cling to my wife. And I thought, why did I show him the Bible? Well, he has always been spiritually mature. We call him our little Billy Graham. My husband and we didn't do it. God did it. I'm full of sin. Okay. I've been washed in the blood, but I've been a horrible, horrible person. Not too bad, but okay. So this baby has been just like an old man all of his life. Let me give you an example. He had a little girlfriend in high school, and he would go over to her house and they'd watch movies. And he came home one night and he used to tell me everything. And I said, what y'all been doing? He said, well, we've been watching television and kissing on the couch. And I said, okay, baby, okay. That's all right. That's normal. But I said, before you know it, you've got your hand on somebody's leg, your arm around, and things can get out of control. And I just say, slow it down. He looked at me like I was crazy. And he said, Mom, I've prayed about this. Nothing like that's going to happen. And I know he meant that. And all I could think of to myself was some of the nastiest things I ever did. Was at the Adams United Methodist Youth Fellowship on a hayride. I don't know what it was about hay that set me on fire. I wish it did now, because I could get a new purse out of that. Okay, y'all, have you ever heard of lock-in? I know everybody in here that has been from Chattanooga has probably been raised in church. Okay, I don't know who that little darling, sweet fool was that came up with the lock-in. Probably a little woman in a committee meeting. And she probably said, oh gosh, y'all, let's come up with something for all the hormonal teenagers. Let's gather them up and put them in the church building and lock the door and turn the lights out and leave them there all night. Maybe somebody will end up pregnant. The reason why I'm so in love with him, he's an old soul. Have y'all ever known anybody that was just born an old soul? He was born an 80-year-old man. All right, let me tell y'all why I say that. He has had a garden since he was in middle school. He has just always loved to learn and had all these nifty things that he's been into. Like he raised chickens. He was in Berry College. They have enterprises, business enterprises, and he started the Cage-Free Egg Enterprise. He raised 200 chickens while he was in college. Do y'all want to know what I was doing at the University of Tennessee in the 80s? I mean, let's just get it out of the way. Have I made out with anybody in here? Anybody? I was in terrible sin. And I was down at Gabby's on the Strip. I don't know if any of y'all remember that Sodom and Gomorrah. I was dancing to Prince, but anywho. So anyway, all right, so he had his own garden. He now cans his own food. He can can food. Are y'all listening to me? He loved gospel bluegrass in high school. Honey, that's his favorite music that he loved. So I brought him to Dr. Ralph Stanley. I don't know if y'all remember Dr. Ralph. He just passed away, 90-something years old, godfather of Mountain. So I brought my son to the Bijou to see him. They propped little Dr. Ralph up on stage. Looked like he had a permanent. Almost threw my panties at him because that's what you do at Tom Jones. Anywho, so we're sitting out in the audience while Dr. Ralph's up here singing, and I thought, how many teenage boys are listening to this? Gospel bluegrass. What are they listening to, real teenage? You know, all right, Waka Flocka Flame. Rihanna, Lady Gaga, all that nasty goings on. I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I had to yell at my boy, turn that gospel bluegrass down? You're out of control. If I hear, I saw the light one more time, he has no conception of time. Everywhere we have ever been in 34 years, we've been late. And I'm an on-time person, so it's really been a struggle. Okay, I would be sitting in a minivan in the driveway with the motor running with 3 little children. Chuck Morgan would be standing at the kitchen sink peeling an apple in his underwear. And I would be furious. And eventually he would come out, and I'd be so mad, and I'd be pitted out, and I'd be like, it's already started, and it would have already started. I'm like, we might as well not even go. We might as well get out and go back in the house, and then he'd back at me. Okay, here's another thing about Chuck Morgan. Every time we've ever had a fight, he acts like it never happened. Never wants to talk about it. Do not mention it. Poof, it's gone. I like to resolve conflict. I like to talk it over and over and over. And then I like to hang on to it. Push it down. Get it back out if I need it. We would finally get to church. It would be halfway over. We would get these little children in a Sunday school class, and their teachers would look at us like, do better. And then I'm finally getting a pew with Chuck Morgan, and he'd start patting on me and looking at me like he wanted to make out with me. And he would say, what's wrong? I'd say, I'm calling a therapist tomorrow. This is how it would start every Sunday morning. I would get up. I was the young mama, so I would get up before everybody in the dark so that I could start getting ready. And I wanted to take my bath and blow my hair out and put my makeup on, my pantyhose. Back then, I wore pantyhose and a dress to church. And then I would get my 3 little children up, and I'd get them dressed and fed all by myself because my husband was young and his frontal lobe had not developed. And then eventually, Chuck Morgan would get up and pop his boxers and cough up something. Chuck Morgan doesn't use a lot of words. He doesn't like to talk. He'd start staring at me and doing something like this. And I knew what that meant. I think it's because I'd had a bath. And I had to decide. It was up to me. Is it going to be a good Sunday? Are we going to get to go eat chicken after church? Or is it going to be a bad Sunday? And Satan's going to cuss all the way in the minivan to church. It's up to me. And my little children like chicken. So I would say to their daddy, and just think, church is already starting. Say to their daddy, okay. Meet me in the closet. You got 3 minutes. I'm only taking one leg out of these pantyhose. Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. I'm gonna bring out my family. Okay, the 5 love languages. All right. Me and Chuck Morgan in Sunday school class went on a retreat. And they talked to us about the 5 love languages. You know, and it's written by little Gary Chapman, who is a doll and tiny and does, that man's probably getting in his 90s and he does sit-ups every day. And that little thing, and I got to meet him later, he was a doll. But anyway, the 5 love languages, if you don't know about that, you've got to get it. There was a 5 love languages for your marriage, and then there's one for your children. And you need to get that. Everybody's got a love language. And you take the test. You got to read the book and take the test. Well, you don't read the book. I didn't. But you can take the test. I like to read books about Hollywood murder. So anyway, you take the test, and then you can, and your husband takes the test, and you find out what his love language is, and he finds out what your love language is. And if you find that out, then you can feed them their love language. And then, so I can feed Chuck Morgan his love language, and then his love tank fills full. If I don't, he could go to work and be at a water fountain, and some whore comes up to him and starts feeding him his love language, and then he feels a tingle, and then Satan swoops in. So these are the 5 love languages. Quality time. If you may know somebody that just wants you to sit on the couch and watch ESPN with them. Something like that. Then there's gifts. That's my sister's love language. It doesn't have to be something expensive. If you, just so you thought of her, if you buy her a card and a rose from the grocery store, she'll bawl her eyes out. And then there's words of affirmation. That's mine. But, physical touch. Physical touch, which I know every woman in here is like, that's my husband. Physical touch. But it's not that kind of physical touch. We're talking about the physical, when you know people that just want to hug you and squeeze on you and all that all the time. That's their love language, is physical touch. But women think, that's my husband's, and he's on me like a duck on a June bug. But that's not the... All right, and then there's words of affirmation. That's mine. So all Chuck Morgan has to do is say, you look beautiful tonight. You are a good mama. That Trisha Yearwood's chicken piccata is to die for. And then my love tank feels full, and then I'm willing to do something vulgar with him. And then he gives me money to get my hair highlighted. See, it works out, you know. It's God's way. And then my husband's is acts of service. So for him to feel loved, I have to go in the garage and build a set of shelves.